host of Talking with Famous People. And the title and message of this video is Let's Be Okay. I'm I'm in a fairly uncomfortable place, like in terms of my cycle of madness. uh, you know, the absence of dopamine or the decline in dopamine can make me feel anxious and or distressed, especially if I spend too long just sitting here watching TV. Rachel, I'm jealous of her, is apparently sleeping soundly right now, but after getting about 4 or 5 hours last night, I got up and that was that. Couldn't go back to sleep. But I think later today I will maybe take a Klonopin and hopefully crash out really well tonight, get a lot of sleep. Which I'm sure would make me feel substantially better. Yeah, it's easy to feel overly stressed by things sometimes. At the root of it is just kind of a existential terror that comes along with getting older and I suppose with body and brain chemistry changing as well. Well, it's a lovely day out. It's a little bit chilly, but certainly not unpleasant. Let's take a walk around the house. Hello there, it's Alec1111. I had a really nice, fun day yesterday. But when you kind of make fun happen with more drugs when you're already pretty well spent. Well, there's an inevitable hangover, I guess. Is it Alec from the typing session in 2021? I mean, that's a crazy question. I've been watching this channel on the history of Wales. It's called Cambrian Chronicles. And I've been quite interested in these detailed breakdowns of Welsh history. They have a lot of information from a long time ago. You know, like Europe, they have a lot more years of history than America does, obviously. But it just goes to show you that if somebody does a good job of telling a story, that's what matters, you know. Like I've not I've not previously imagined that I'd be interested in detailed genealogical history of Welsh kings and stuff, but it's very rigorously done. Like you guys are a pretty rigorous historian, you know. But it's also told in entertaining ways. But, you know, you gotta switch it up sometime. I'm trying to be comfortable on a post Adderall Sunday. More specifically, I'm trying to make sure that no, I've never been to Wales. I have been to England, but not to Wales. Uh, you know, like I was saying last night in the live stream, I have some anxiety about getting in a bad mental place because it's happened some, you know, recent months. We gotta try to stay on top of that, you know. How did you start smoking? I started smoking way back when I was a teenager, but then I quit for a while. Started again after my first divorce. So I smoked from age 17 to 21, and then I quit for 10 years. You know, life can be full of painful, horrible things. It's also full of joy and pleasure and satisfaction and stuff like that. But the painful, horrible things can sometimes seem to overwhelm the ordinary things, you know. Hello, Hun's top opinion. Hi, Japan. Ohio. Moshi Moshi. I do speak a little bit of Japanese, you know, but I watch a lot of anime. I can just say a bunch of things they say in anime, you know, like Wakata, so desu ka, wakarimashita,失礼 shimasu, things like that. Tokyo is expensive, and I don't really like to travel. Plus, I'm 6'5", so I don't think I'd do very well in a Japanese hotel. Maybe I should watch football. I put some football in the background. That's that's a lively kind of notion. Um, so yeah, it's good for me to be a little proactive while I trim a bed because Rachel's crashed out, and with the dopamine, I mean, I could also. I don't know if I want to do that. So I don't want to take. I have one more Adderall, which I'm not going to take today, but I have also a little bit of Adderall dust that could give me just a slight boost, you know, make me feel a little bit better. Talk about being involved in basketball because you're right. Well, I did play a lot of pickup basketball in my life. I was never in organized basketball. I wasn't particularly good at it, but I was good at certain things. I was a good rebounder. Um, Eventually I just kind of petered out on playing pickup games because uh, Merry Thanksgiving to you too. Just petered out on it because I guess I didn't really feel like doing it anymore. But I also had a couple of times where I rolled my ankle really bad. Yeah, well, not. I don't know about team sports. I know SE Polar sometimes do play sports, but uh, because look, the thing I remember about extrovert sensing is it's executing a course of action like in a way that affects change, right? If you're just persisting in something that you already do, that doesn't require so much extrovert sensing. Johnny Walker from UFC is SE Polar. What makes you think that? Does he talk a lot? Let me pull this up on the big screen so I don't have to read it on the little screen. You'll whoop me in chess? I don't doubt it. I'm not terrible at chess, but I wouldn't call myself good. I do sometimes play chess against people here in the stream. Yeah, well, Johnny Walker from the liquor store, that's the expensive, sure. And like I knew Spacey's SE Polar, and he was in crew rowing the boat. And he was quite muscular as a result, but it also was just something that repetitive that you get used to doing. Just because you're SE Polar doesn't mean you can't perform in sports. So I already feel better having started to stream and chatting with people here. Appreciate you being here because I'm starting to feel not so fresh. Like maybe it's time for me to douche with Massengale, America's most trusted brand of douche. Oh my God, is that Massengale? Oh, so is it over? Did it score a touchdown? All right, here we go. mm. Oh ha, oh ha, hee ho ha ha. All right, well, it's a little pick me up there. Now that was ground up Adderall. A little bit of Adderall does. That's how you consume your rat poison, huh? It wasn't. It wasn't very much Adderall dose. It was like maybe 5 milligrams or something. It's not even because I want to be like up or sprung. It'll it'll like ease me down a bit, rather than just uh, going from all to nothing. Hi, Show Media. Good. I'm glad you're going to try to be okay. Sometimes it's hard for us to be okay, you know? Sometimes we don't feel okay. Sometimes we feel isolated, alone, anxiety ridden. You're going to cook some bacon for BLTs, huh? Well, that sounds like a good plan. I had a banquet meatloaf dinner for lunch. And it's not always it's not always you know, the world's not always going to be accommodating to your vacillations in mood, mental health, or whatever. I think it's important for me anyway to be proactive. Y'all got me hungry, says Rusmus. Maybe you should cook some bacon too. Unless, of course, you converted to a combination of Judaism and Islam. Where is Isaiah? Well, I don't know, but he's, I believe, struggling with alcohol. Last I checked, last I heard. Something I'm very familiar with, but don't necessarily have a lot of helpful advice. It's one of those things where you got to come to terms with the fact that you can't do it at all. There's no, there's no way around that, you know. I seen someone on a beer run about half an hour ago. Well, good for you. I don't think there's anything wrong with alcohol. I think people who can successfully consume and enjoy alcohol are lucky people who should take advantage of that. But I can't do that. I heard from him he's doing better, but it's been about 2 months or more. Yeah. Well, various kinds of unsustainable addictions are various kinds of bad, right? But personally, I find, in my mind, alcohol abuse it has it's pretty bad, you know. Hi, Levi Samuels. Not much. Just doing a little live streaming, hoping to feel a little bit more. Yeah, yeah. I have had depression not that long ago, and uh, I was. That's when I got prescribed Wellbutrin was for depression. I don't really take it anymore because I'm not really that depressed anymore. How did I overcome it? Well, I didn't overcome it. It's still something that I feel I'm susceptible to states of poor mental health. Although I think it's more likely now. I think I'm more likely to experience anxiety than depression now. But either of them is some sort of an expression of ontological distress. And I think the best way that I have dealt with those things is by being proactive, understanding that you have to you know you have to stay ahead of the game, right? Like if you start spiraling into some kind of, say, panic attack or or depressive malaise or something. Smoking weed could lead to decreased drinking. I think that's fairly likely that it correlates. But you know, I've also had to just be a little more cautious with some of the psych drugs that I was playing around with. You do this, you talk about it, do your best not to stress, drink water, get sleep. It's a lot of work. You can give up on yourself. Right. Well, the thing I've experienced is that my relationship with my ways has changed. Like I've I've lived like this for a long time with the binge purge cycle of Adderall bottles and stuff. And it didn't used to ever make me feel depressed, or anxiety really. It would make me, I'd be irritable or I'd wake up mad at something, but I didn't really notice the my state of being as a, as like a state of distress. Coffee and Adderall, you'd be on the ceiling. Well, the thing is, if I were on a clean head right now, even that much Adderall would probably get me fairly up. But I'm at the end of the bottle, so I'm already running a sleep deficit, and accordingly, I have a limited amount of dopamine to reuptake inhibit. It's true though that there's a lot of different things I do that 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 don't they don't correlate well in terms of anxiety, like smoking cigarettes, drinking coffee. Adderall's kind of neutral. Wellbutrin's kind of anxiety inducing, but but it's also the case that some of the anxiety has to do with things coming up. Like I'm getting big dental surgery coming up, and I'm worried about I need to work and for nothing to get infected and stuff. Best partners for INTPs? I think ESFJ is a good partner for INTP. I think INTP is probably well suited to be a good dual. But I've heard plenty of INTPs say, that's crazy, I would not want to be with one. But I don't know if they are correct in that. So, the other thing is, and this is not something I do very much, but um, I'd probably have a lot better mental health if I got more exercise. Like run around the block, make myself breathe really hard. Would probably do a lot of good. Jesus is king. All right. What about King Charles? Is he also king? I'm pretty sure he is. I watched an interesting video from that channel about Wales about how the next in line for the English throne has came to have the name the Prince of Wales. I used to run a lot, and it helped me a lot personally. Yeah, I mean, I think it would help me too. But that's the sort of thing that you've got to. Yeah, I'm whales watching again. I don't know. You find a channel that, and you know, it's interesting, and they do a good job, and you kind of binge their videos a bit. So I've been really learning a lot about Welsh history today, and last night after I ended the stream. What about SI polars for ESFJ? What do you mean? ESFJs are not S. Oh, I don't think it's a good idea for an INFP to be with an ENFJ. I don't think it works because, but I mean, I can think of one couple where INFP ENFJ works. So maybe it's hard to say. There's going to be some value conflicts, but I think the best MBTI questions. I think the best MBTI questions. I forget them by the time you stream. Well, you should write them down. INFP ESTJ, I think works pretty well. I think it does too. But it's like Rachel's mom and dad, they're that type. They ended up getting divorced eventually. Yeah, that writing down thing you don't have the best relationship with. Fair enough. Me neither. I heard ISFJ and ESFP work well, and I wouldn't mind. I mean, that's our neighbors, ISFJ, ESFP. They seem to work fine. It's not a. Well, I mean, the thing is, though, I think the ISFJ's third slot TI is going to run afoul of TI poll or something, but I think ISFJ is better off with ESTP. Yeah. Oh, no, that's right. Kate might be an ENFP. I don't think I determined what type she is yet. She's either ENFP or ESFP. She's definitely TI polar, but I don't know what type she is. Maybe she's ENFP. I am still kicking. I'll probably be absent from the internet for a few days after today, but maybe not. We'll see how little or much energy I have. Let's put a football game on in a tab over here. Yeah, I don't know whether Kay's an ESFP or an ENFP. Like when we first met them and I talked to her, I thought she was an ENFP. Then after interacting with her more, I thought she was ESFP. But I really don't know. That's not what I'm trying to do. This is what I'm trying to do. Which type is more hesitant to read books because they value their own thoughts and ideas more and don't want to read to interfere too much with their ideas and thoughts? I mean, extra is good. Just recommend caution. In our 50s, overdoing it can lead to heart palpitations or worse. Huh. Well, What is heart palpitation anyway? Just your heart beating kind of funny? I do sometimes feel that, but not so much when I exercise. Hi, Gil. How you doing? It is true that snow shoveling heart attacks are pretty common among older men there. Well, I can get why that would be the case, but I'm not too worried about about a heart attack because I've, I've never had high blood pressure, and I'm not overweight or anything, so I don't have a history of heart problems in my family either. What's my experience with poker? I do like to play poker. I haven't played it in a while now, but you know, my experience with it overall is that it requires too much patience for me. I have to be in exactly the right mindset to play correctly, and even then, there's variance. Ever watched an anime named Kaiji? I feel like I have to feel settled for a while with my own ideas and thoughts before I can dig into a book, and even I get disturbed a bit in the process. Well, I mean, I don't love reading stuff a lot of times either, but for a different reason. It's like I don't want to read certain kinds of wrongnesses that make me mad. So, like, there's there'll be some article about some something purported evolutionary scientists have established about evolution, and I used to read those things, looking for new information, but it's always the same thing. It's always begging the question. For me, it's dedicating my focus to one thing for a while. Dedicating your focus to one thing for a while is an important thing for me as well, and a difficult thing for me. But in general, I think I'd be a healthier version of myself with better SI, which doesn't just mean sleeping more and paying attention to my bodily stuff, but it also means having an awareness of like what you're doing later today, kind of having a plan, trying to follow through on it, which is more SE stuff than SI. But in general, my life would be better if I had more sensing engaged. What is Shannon's type? Who's Shinon? I don't know who that is. Usually sleep like 10 to 12 hours. I mean, I need to sleep a lot of hours, especially now to catch up on my lost sleep. But oh, Shannon from OPS? I'm not sure. Dave's superpowers and just, oh, the wrongness. Oh, the appalling wrongness. I sleep a lot better because I'm on sedating meds. Right. Well, and when Rachel does go to sleep, she usually sleeps quite well and for quite a long time. They give me hella weird vibes. They a bit quirky. Well, they're part of Team Indefensible Claims. Like the Orwellian doublespeak, them calling themselves objective personality because purportedly they verify each other's ways. What's Delilah's Enneagram? I don't really know. Mm, she doesn't have three, I don't think. She's two or four, probably two in the tri-type, probably one, maybe eight, and probably five or seven. I'm not sure. They seem like out of touch corporate go getter types. Well, I mean, in some sense, yeah, because they're not focused on being correct. They're just focused on having a system and engaging people as clients and stuff, you know? So this is, of course, very helpful in being okay, being able to chat with you all and get out of my head a little bit. Let's see. Doesn't seem to be much that I really want to put on the background. I guess I'll put this women's volleyball game on the background. Minnesota at Rutgers. It's tied 7-7 in the first set. I kind of like watching volleyball sometimes. I should probably, I could, probably should get up and maybe do a couple of little chores here. Like, there's some cleanup in the kitchen I could do, but, well, I don't feel particularly motivated to do it. Sometimes I feel just like I'm waiting to finish playing so I can start actually like living my life or something. I don't really know who to trust in terms of typological accuracy. I've been typed a lot by socionics people. I haven't been typed since I moved away from socionics a bit. Well, you should know very well who to trust. We're going to type. His name rhymes with Schmerich. Hi, Judy Ivy. Judy Ivy. How are you? You don't meet a lot of Judys. I use the name a lot as like a just a plug-in name. Like, let's pretend it's somebody named Judy. No, 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 no. Where's the other half? She's asleep right now. She's asleep, cuddled up in bed. She didn't sleep at all last night, and I mean, she often doesn't sleep at night, so that's not shocking. She's actually not lost out on too much sleep because she did stay up all night last night, but she got up in the afternoon. Sleep bias? Oh, sleep blast. Yeah, she's sleep blast playing. Um, Watching any football? I'm actually not watching football right now. What I'm watching is women's volleyball. Minnesota versus Rutgers. Just to have something on in the background, basically. Not because I'm particularly enjoying the volleyball match. But, even if it's not history's most entertaining sporting event, it uh, it has what sports has to offer, which is authentic unpredictability. Like that's what live sports has to offer more than anything else is authentic drama. Like could be it could be a terrible game and a blowout, or it could be a great game, and you have to just watch it play out and see. Did she really get underneath that? Looked like it hit the ground, but I guess not. Wow. I guess she did get her hand underneath it. I do like your way of testing people compared to just solely asking a bunch of personal questions and then going off vibe. I feel like that's important, but you also got a skill based test. Well, yeah, I mean, if you don't have assessments that others can use and attain the same set of results and draw the same conclusions from them, then at the end of the day, the only thing you're testing somebody on is your intuition. Great sportsmanship with Casey and the Colts. I didn't see the great sportsmanship, but I did see that Casey won it with a field goal there at the end of overtime. I wonder how my fantasy football teams are doing. One of my fantasy football teams is doing pretty well this year. So let's see. Let's take a gander. I've got three teams. I've got three teams: So Delightful, Ponderosa, and Touchdown Party. So Delightful is currently winning 97 to 83. That's good. The Ponderosa is currently losing 42 to 56. Well, I have several people who haven't played yet. The Lions defense got -3 fantasy points. That's pretty bad. I should have put in DJ Moore. He got a lot of points today, but he's on my bench. Okay. Now, Touchdown Party. Touchdown Party is winning 90 to 36. That's pretty good. So which is my Touchdown Party is my best team. 8-3 his touchdown party. 8-3. That's a good record for my fantasy football team. Patrick Mahomes is very much a successful quarterback. Well, someday. What is best NFL era, in my opinion? See, I've never been a huge NFL fan. I've always been more of a college football fan than NFL. But I guess I'm thinking back to the time when the Bills lost 4 consecutive Super Bowls. This seemed like an interesting time. We good? Yeah, Keisha, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm being okay. Sometimes, well, I have to manage my mental health and overall wellness more than I used to. Yes, you can. No, yes, it can be done. What does that mean? Si se puede. Puede. I don't know what that means. Hi, Tuts. I'm looking suave and debonair today, huh? Thanks. That's because I used Suave hair products. Yes, we can. Seen a robot chain smoking and drinking beer on the couch with a caption that went like, AI is coming for the unemployed too. I don't think there's any demand for anybody to do that job. Yes, we can. But Acacia, listen, I dare wear short shorts. And if you dare wear short shorts, nair for short shorts. Do people still use nair? It seems like something that would kind of be passe now. Like apparently people don't really use Summer's Eve by Massengale anymore. No, I don't use Suave on my leg hairs. I use Suave on my incredibly lush head of hair on top. They do still use Nair. Um, I think it's made out of some kind of rat enzyme. How to be much less lazy if I'm extremely lazy? Oh, Popovich. I'm afraid you're asking the wrong guy. I also have executive function problems. I mean, one thing that helps for me sometimes is to make a clear plan, a clear and very achievable plan for the day. Like, okay, I'm gonna accomplish this one thing today, and then after I do that, maybe I go and say, I think I'm gonna accomplish another thing. But like if I wake up like today where I had no thoughts about what I was going to do except I guess I'll go watch some more Welsh history videos, which I did for a while. Then that's not likely to be a productive day, and even if I do accomplish something, it almost feels like it doesn't count because it wasn't planned. One thing I can tell you that is going to help a lot with you being lazy or unproductive is for us to talk about it some more. That is undoubtedly where the solution lies here. Answers like you just have to do stuff, that doesn't take into account the complexity of things. Okay? How can I do things when I haven't fully come to understand with words what doing means? Yeah, we're producing conversations, we're understanding things. Well, then you should just get head. Toots. I don't even know where to start. Like, get back to coding, but code what? And where do I go to relearn what I forgot now that the skills don't have seemed to rot? The dandruff is on your shoulders, but it won't be after you use head and shoulders. Am I offering him? Who am I offering? Oh, not that kind of head. I was just responding to his comment that head and shoulders is interesting because what if you don't have hair on your shoulders? But then you just get head, right? What about knees and toes, knees and toes? That would be a fine shampoo name, but it would be a little bit misleading about where you're supposed to put it. I don't nair my shoulders, no. You've been having brain zaps lately? Well, all those psych drugs they can be necessary, helpful, and they can also have negatives as well. Like I'm minding my own business, then boom, pulse goes through my head, and I feel like I'm going to pass out. Then it resolves in a second or two. Well, that doesn't sound very healthy. Let your doc know. Not a bad idea, Acacia. But it's also the case that sometimes we can experience discomfort in something or weird feeling and just end up not meaning anything. So don't get too stressed out, but err on the side of caution is probably a good idea. Rutgers. Rutgers is hanging tough with Minnesota despite the fact that they've got a much worse record. You're a rat poop scientist? I felt these a lot when I went cold turkey off of Zoloft. What kind of drug is Zoloft? Well, I can say that Zoloft and SSRI, that I really had a bad overall reaction to this, what's it called? It's that anti-anxiety drug I was taking for a bit. I don't know where it is. I forget what it's called. Cameron gave me some of those. I probably should never have taken those because I had a slap back response from it when I stopped taking it. I had like panic attacks. You'd write that one down, maybe. Start with a little list. It's also an antidepressant and anti-anxiety med combined. Well, in general, it's a challenge to manage your relationship with certain kinds of medications like that because uh, if you're in a state of distress, having depression or anxiety, it's probably a good idea to or you might. No, Popovich, I'm obviously not going to answer that horrible question. It's a horrible question. Can you remove it, please? Yeah, so if like you're in a state of distress, then you need to uh, you might be well served to take something to help with that. But it's also the case that in an ideal world, for like anti-anxiety, anti-depression stuff, you get to a place where you don't take it anymore. Seems to me, because they aren't good drugs to get high on. When the doctor asks you how you've been, you can mention the brain zaps. That's true. Man, yesterday I yawned so much and my nose ran so much. It was almost unbelievable. Would I rather get high on life or strife? Life. I like to find some way to crystallize life essence and then smoke it in a glass pipe. I've extracted the precious life essence. No, don't extract his life essence. Yeah, as you do it, the person visibly ages. Did weed stop working? No, I mean, I still smoke weed, and generally, I have a pretty good relationship with it. There are, but I also have to be a little bit careful with it. Like, um, if I'm not in a great place mentally, then that can contribute to anxiety too. Like, a lot of the things I do um, correlate with anxiety in ways that are not good, like smoking cigarettes, drinking coffee. Adderall's kind of neutral. Wellbutrin's kind of anxiety inducing. Weed's kind of anxiety inducing. So I have to be a little bit careful with that. Like, if I drink a couple of those drinks, I might that might put me in a bad place, you know. Wellbutrin is it's generally kind of flattening in the sense that you don't feel like sad as much but or self-loathing as much maybe, but it it's kind of got an edgy quality to it. It is almost like an amphetamine because it has some dopamine reuptake inhibition, but it also has norepinephrine uptake reuptake inhibition. And I don't know, it's a weird drug. It's not fun, but sometimes it's better than nothing. Like it's I definitely do best with Wellbutrin when I take just one of them. Like you think, oh, this Wellbutrin's making me feel a little bit flatter and not and kind of okay-ish and stuff. Maybe I should take a second one and maybe feel better. No, it doesn't work like that. What's NPD, narcissistic personality disorder? What do I think about narcissistic personality disorder? I think that what type is most correlated with it. I don't think there's any typological correlation with dark triad stuff. I think it probably stems from childhood abuse. Maybe sometimes some kind of like structural deformity in the brain or something. I'm not really sure, but I just don't think in general that being wicked, not, you know, treating people like things you step on and such, insisting that everybody, that you be the center of everything and other people don't have equal interest. That kind of toxicity is not going to, I don't think, appear in pretty much anybody who is raised by loving parents and is more or less has an acceptable childhood, you know? Like borderline personality disorder, I see is just uh, a less comprehensive form of dark triad, you know? It's not dark triad to everybody, but it's dark triad to some people in their life. Which type is most likely to have sporadic, insatiable potato cravings? Well, Irish people mostly. The Irish love potatoes a lot. Do you think they're genetic psychopaths? Well, see, I don't see psychopathy itself as a problem, right? Like, what matters is whether people are rights violatory slash toxic slash doing damage to others around them. As I understand psychopathy being a lack of empathy, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing those things. Potato craving means carbs low, which means you are under eating. Could be. Could be that. Could be what I said, that Acacia's Irish. That would explain how the Alamo is her fault. Hmm. Well, well, well. What could I do that's slightly productive but is not that big of a deal? Where did I leave my coffee? Did I leave it outside? No? Oh, there it is. Yeah. It's what the reason the Alamo happened is because the Irish, in particular Acacia, moved to Mexico and instigated this, you know, burst of colonial expansionism in the Mexican people. Hi, a witness. Which version of Joker or archetype? Do you like the Joker character in general? No, I don't like that character at all. You beat the record for longest live last night. I've probably done longer, but that was a long one. I don't remember what my longest stream is or anything. I keep track of stuff like that. But you know, powered by amphetamines, we can make the impossible become reality. Oh, he's not an EHP. No, I don't think he's an EHP. You don't like the twisted monster who terrorizes people for fun. No kidding. Yeah, right. I mean, again, I don't think evil correlates with a type. You might be able to say that his expression of evil is more of an extroverted sensing expression of evil than extroverted intuition, but yeah, I don't like that stereotype as the Joker is an EHP either. Like, EHPs are sensitive people unless they're unhealthy. We're talking about whether or not toxicity correlates with type. And I'm saying I don't think so. Although, it is possible to say that certain types are more likely to face a lack of acceptance, or more sometimes they're more likely to face people telling them there's something wrong with you than other types, right? Because some I actually did have a little Adderall dust to just kind of get me a little closer to baseline. It's not really gonna make me feel sprung. I'm kind of all sprung out. Uh, what do you think about Gus Firing being INTJ? I don't know who Gus Firing is. What villain seems to be an ENTP? Um, I mean, I can't think of any good example ENTP villains because the thing is, in general, characters in stories don't they don't display the preference for talking over action because that doesn't make for a good story, right? The cops are going to be out like crazy the next few days. Why, for Thanksgiving? What about Azula from Airbender? I can't think of how that person is. I did watch some Airbender, but a long time ago, and I don't think I watched the whole thing. I'm not too worried about cops and getting pulled over and stuff because my tags are current and I have like all my. Can you please read my last long comment? So I've learned that evil manifests itself in different ways. Like in a person who seems totally normal, the devil can get the kill. I don't think evil picks the type the person is. Yeah, well, I think that by and large, evil follows from being subjected to evil as a child. Is Obito an ENFP in your opinion? Who's Obito? I don't know who that is. Gus Fring is the guy from Better Call Saul and Bring Back. Oh no, I don't think he's an ENTP, but I do think that Saul is an ENTP. Nice segue. I just wanted to talk about Airbender. Well, good. Is Orochimaru an ENTP? I don't think so. I mean, you just don't. There's not. There's just not enough like propensity for talking over action that it demonstrated really in any of the characters in Naruto. There's like one or two I can think of that are in this group of three that one of them's always talking, but okay. Will you never learn any lessons? It doesn't matter what you mean by that. It's condescending and offensive. Hi, Russia. How's it going? Sherlock's Moriarty? Maybe. I'm not familiar enough with those stories. Obito is the masked villain from Shippuden. Masked villain. Oh, that guy. Yeah, well, he plays he plays the role of like dumbass, right? But it turns out to actually be what's that guy's name? Putin song, please. I'm not feeling particularly singy at the moment. I am kind of low energy. Sisu, Road to Revenge. I watched an interesting video with Rachel yesterday at some point, which was about these two guys watched movies that had a big gap between um, between the critics' reviews and the audience reviews to see who was right. I thought it was interesting. Is Loki an ENTP? I don't know what to say about that. Is Edison an ESTP? Edison's more likely an ESTJ, I think. But like I said, it's hard to find characters that are ENTPs because that's not a good story, you know, somebody talking a bunch. But I think Gus is an INTJ. Yeah, that makes more sense than anything else I could think of. But I don't know. He's a weird character. You don't get a lot of his inner process or anything. I think Tesla was an INTJ, and Einstein was an INTP. That's what I think. All right, you be Bach. These ladies have these dumb shirts on for the bubble team. It has like four adjectives on it. Like four adjectives. Like resilient, strong. Yeah. Mozart? I don't know. Yeah, the only idea of Mozart that I have is how he was in the film Amadeus. Okay, what RPG stats correlate to what function? Strength, dexterity, faith, intelligence. Um, how is faith an RPG stat? It's strength, dexterity, wisdom, intelligence, and charisma. I think that there should also be like clarity and passion for everything like NI and FI. Charisma, FE. Um, Intelligence is, I mean, yeah, you could say it's TI. Wisdom would be SI, I guess. Dexterity, I guess SE. It would strength be TE? Yeah, I mean, sort of. And if you mean strength by effectiveness, unfortunately, RPG attributes over prioritize combat things, which life did not prioritize very much. You know, I guess really, oh, there's Constitution, right? So Constitution, strength, and dexterity are all like physical components of combat. Intelligence, wisdom, those are seen as linking to magic. And then charisma is just seen as general smoothness through which you move through the game, I guess. How do you link the functions to the four elements? You mean fire, water, earth, and air? Well, I guess your earth functions would be SI. SITE maybe is earth functions. Airs maybe like NE, NI. I don't know. It's a hard one. They don't go very well with this. Are you able to objectively answer questions regarding faith and intellect? Uh, Sure, if I feel like it. I don't think you see those two things as going together, really. The differences between the two? Well, I mean, that seems pretty straightforward. Like, an intellectual understanding of things is justified by arguments and it validates against observations and stuff. Whereas a faith-based frame of reference is a magical thinking frame of reference where it does not involve, it doesn't require justifications to withstand scrutiny. Well, faith negates intellect in its frame, and intellect negates frame in its frame, and intellect negates faith in its frame. But what's important to note is that they each have their respective areas of, of appropriate jurisdiction. So you wouldn't want to use faith to solve a math problem, right? Because that's not a good way to reach the solution. And you wouldn't want to use intellect to know your positive moral obligations or indications because those don't universalize. I at one point linked the functions and extroversion and introversion as well as plus and negative charge spheres to the tree of life. Well, I don't know anything about the tree of life. Chard? Like Swiss chard? Extroversion and introversion aren't discrete things. So, and don't have charges. To the extent that I've ever heard anything that makes any sense at all regarding these charges, it's just them saying sometimes you are affirming and sometimes you're negating. That's not, I mean, it's true that TI is sort of naturally negationary, but when making an affirmation, it uses that quality of finding what's incorrect and correcting it to make sure that the affirmation withstands scrutiny. Well, it looks like Minnesota is going to. Do you have to win 3 sets in volleyball to win the match, or two? Or, uh, regardless, Minnesota is about to take the second set. Your live has become really heavily laden with one topic lately. What one topic? Okay, good. It's volleyball. Yeah, well, I mean, this, in case you don't understand it, to the extent that this channel is about anything in particular, it's about that. Like, people hire me to type people, I publish their typing sessions, people come around here a lot to talk about typology. Regardless, just before you said that, I answered your question in full about faith and intellect. So, are you just being snotty or what? I don't think Jim Darney is going to last very long either, just like A Witness didn't last very long. Because I just don't see you dealing authentically with me. I didn't know you'd been typing all these years. I didn't know it's a typing channel in large. Yeah, by and large. I mean, some people have the opposite reaction to you, which is why don't you talk more about typology? Because sometimes I don't talk about typology for a long stretch of the time. But well, it's also the topic somewhat at the moment. Um, Overall, today's live stream is about general mental wellness. Again, why don't I type you? Because you haven't hired me. Why don't you come over and fix my plumbing? Why don't I call a plumber and tell him that? Okay, well, if you want to hire me, you can follow the instructions on the how to book a typing session document. That's the link to which is contained within every long form video or live stream. Resilient, powerful, something passionate. Four adjectives. Okay, I've already talked to you about this. Can you just not, please? Like, what inspires somebody to do this? It's so crazy. What type is most likely to be Ubermensch? What does Ubermensch mean exactly? Is it like your grandma or something? Oh, too bad you didn't get there in time. What does that third word say? Resilient, powerful, something, and passionate. You can't read the one that's white text over a yellow background. But those are horrible sweatshirts. What about Dawn dish soap? Does it only work in the morning? What if you prefer to dishes after supper in the evening? You know, could be that Dawn soap is named after a woman. Certainly plausible. So USC in volleyball is actually currently number 19 in the country with a record of 22-6. Nebraska, number one in the country with a record of 28-0. There are six ranked teams in the Big Ten. And Minnesota's about to win the set here. They're up 24 to 20. Was Hitler an INFJ in my opinion? It's plausible, uh, given that he was on a lot of amphetamines, and given that he went through World War One and stuff, and experienced a reality where life was pretty cheap, and etc. But certainly he had a clear archetype for himself as a Germanic leader and stuff. He was effective in communicating that vision to others, whether it was a worthwhile vision to communicate or not. Obviously, it wasn't, but it it was a very NI vision, and kind of like bad TE in the sense of he wanted various monuments and stuff built that were more or less like impossible to build, too difficult. Like you can't build an arch that big and tell Hitler and be like, "Oh, sure you can." It seems like kind of bad TE. What's interesting is how badly the German Air Force bungled their early advantage away. Like they were trying to force shit over England in ways that cost them a lot of their strength in the air. And then, of course, the other big thing about Germany in World War II uh, that people don't typically think of as a huge factor in how things turned out is that Germany was very much hamstrung by fuel shortages throughout the war. They had limited access to oil, and Japan encountered this similar problems. There was one German soldier who was captured in North Africa pretty quickly after being sent to the North African front, and he said in like his memoir or something that he knew the Germans had lost the war the second he saw the Americans, blithely burning through fuel and not thinking twice about it. And that was to him a clear cut indicator that Germany had already lost the war. Because obviously, you can't fight a mechanized war reliant on tanks, aircraft, personnel, moving vehicles, etc., without a reliable source of petrol, as they say in Europe. And, the thing is, even at the end of the war, Germany still had a decent number of planes, some of them advanced new jets and stuff, but they just didn't have the fuel to send them up in the air for very long. World War II is an interesting part of human history. I've watched a lot of stuff about World War II, but I don't so much watch it anymore because I think I've kind of like learned more or less all the things that I have to learn about it. Well, I can see how one would be insecure about having one testicle, but I would suggest that if there's somebody at any random point in history to be born with one testicle, they're much more likely to not be Hitler. you know, I don't know if we can really attribute his his dictatorship to the quantity of his testicles, but I do understand how that could cause him some distress. Yeah, Germany had a lot of fuel problems, shortages and stuff. Let's see. I guess no, that game's 21-0. That's not worth watching. Syracuse versus Michigan women's basketball. There's nothing good on right now. Nothing good at all. So, what's the plan of attack here then? I'm not feeling sleepy enough to sleep. I don't think. I'm not feeling motivated enough to clean up or anything. Eric, you live on Village? I don't live in a village. I live in a rather isolated little neighborhood back here in the woods. But there are other houses around. Like it's a neighborhood comprising basically three streets. So it's not a lot of houses. Like all the kids in the neighborhood get together and make the trip for trick or treating in one big group. And that's kind of nice. We got to give candy to the kids this year. Hang out with the neighbors a bit. Neighbors are cool. I like them. I wish, I have regrets sometimes where I say things or deal with Kay in a way that I think maybe it hurts her feelings or something. I'm not trying to, but I kind of don't recognize it until it happens. Oh well, I do the best I can. I think that's fair to say more these days than it's ever been before. Is that I do the best I can to be attentive to and concerned about people's feelings, and it's not a naturally it's not naturally a strong point for me, but I think suffering helps create some empathy. And not that I'm suffering or anything, but you know, I I've had some rough times the last couple of years. And what's cool and important for me to remember is that I also continue to have wonderful, great times. So, like yesterday was a great day. I had a lot of fun taking mushrooms and Adderall. Am I familiar with Stephen Hawking's work? Well, sort of. I mean, I'm familiar with Hawking's radiation and the the claim that the universe might be an endless cycle of expanding and contracting, but beyond that, not a whole lot. What do you think of his non-existence of God arguments? I'm not familiar with those arguments, but I can already tell you what I think about them. Arguing that there's no God is like dancing that architecture is bad. It doesn't make any sense fundamentally because faith is not something that's subject to argument, right? If you think that you can determine God's existence with argumentational supremacy, well, then you're already starting off by saying there's no viable space, ontological, intellectual space for faith, you know? On the red shifted and the blue shifted is what you refer to on expansion and contraction. Okay. Well, I mean, the thing is, he made the claim that there's competing claims. Some people say it just forever expands until it runs out of energy and dies. He suggested that for some, I don't know the mechanism by which it purportedly recontracts is, but his claim was that. But there's, the thing is, there just isn't a way to bypass the 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 need for an explanation, right? Like the natural question about, say, the Big Bang is, well, what came before the Big Bang? And nothing is a very unsatisfactory answer, right? Seeing that it goes in a continuous cycle of contracting and expanding. Well, but how did that cycle begin? You know? Did my dad ever slap me? No, my mom slapped me once. But my parents didn't hit me. My mom slapped me one time. I'm sure I deserved it. Such an ugly end. I wish I had a better. I wish I had just done a better job at the end of my parents' life, especially well, both of them really. I wish I had understood, been able to put myself in their shoes better. I'm sure that they were going through better, been more helpful and empathetic. It's like I had this very good and comfortable place of my parents in my life before the last couple of years. That kind of like just That's a really sour taste in my mouth. Swiss cheese. What do they do with the cheese from the holes? Hmm. I don't know. I'm pretty sure there is no cheese from the holes. Hmm. I wonder. I wonder. All right. Well, we're going to spend just a little bit more time together today. Out of gas and rubbing my eyes like a tired baby. Sometimes I feel kind of anxious about lying down because I'm not sure if I'm going to find the time alone in my head to be a reparative thing. I might call what's that word? Convalescent. Whether it's going to be a convalescent experience or if I'm going to be in a bad place in my head. One thing I could do to help me feel less stressed out about that is I could take some Benadryls, a couple gabapentins maybe. Those are just like, those aren't really sleeping drugs, but they do help me to feel sleepy and probably less prone to getting stressed out. I could also take a shower. I smell pretty bad. That made me feel a little refreshed. There's all this moss on the driveway. Pretty cool. On the roof too, because of all the rain. Hi there. Is it Rachel? Hi, beautiful. I'm glad you're up. Can you see the moss? Sure. I'm sure this is the moss on the driveway I was talking about. But it's a lot more. You get a lot more moss up here. The roof has got moss on all of those shingles. Yeah, it's pretty. It's nice. I like moss. Uh, I never really do this or have done this, but what I would like is to have so much moss that when it's warm and dry out, I could lie down on it. Proof. Let me see if I can read it. Proof the earth is flat because moss won't grow on a rolling stone. Good point, Fly Guy. Good point. That's a good model for the solar system as well. Instead of having us orbit things in space, why don't we roll on great cosmic tubes? Because you were rolling around a slide thing, then part of the earth would be smashed all the time. Get over it, smash fetish people. The earth would be fine. How flat is my earth? How flat is my earth? It's not really flat. This part is flat right here. Nice and flat. You know, when they built the house, they said, we need some flat parts here to stand on. And they put these flat parts. How deep is my earth? Oh, it goes all the way down to the bottom. That's how deep it is. All the way down to the bottom and then through to the other side. It's kind of interesting how people can't really dig that deep down into the earth because, like, the Russians have dug the deepest hole ever, but like I'm not sure how deep, like a few kilometers down or something. They had to stop because it takes them like 3 drill bits to get through just a few feet of dirt still, you know. But I like the idea of let's see how deep we can dig a hole. I think it's a good idea in general. I like this plan. Let's see how deep we can dig a hole. It's like of all the stupid things that people do, that one, I don't mind that one so much. Certainly, it's a lot better than when, like, the U.S. decided they were going to try to put a nuclear-powered spy station in the Himalayas to provide early warning of Chinese movements, and then lost the whole thing in the mountains, and you know, it's still lost there somewhere. How your school friends would describe you? What do you think? How would my school friends describe me? Probably like back in high school. I don't know how they would have described me. They probably would have described me as, you know, talkative, like wanting to go out a lot, wanting to socialize and party. If you dig deep enough, do you get to China? Yeah, well, if you're aiming that way, like you got to decide which other side of the earth you want to poke through to. Like you don't have to go straight through the middle, right? You could like go through the side, kind of like this. Like I'm thinking there might be somewhere even for me to dig a hole that comes out in Los Angeles just by digging straight down. If I just keep digging, I'm sure I'll get to Los Angeles eventually. Like Bugs Bunny. Yeah, I could dig to LA. Yeah, we could have a water slide to Texas. I could dig to LA. The thing is, like, it's interesting how much more of a problem pressure is to deal with than vacuum. Like, there are fish that live way down at the bottom of the Mariana Trench with atmospheric pressure. They're just massive, right? Because of all the water on top of them. We cannot send a submarine down to that depth without it getting crunched like the like the that James Cameron submarine did. That's pretty crazy to think about. Like there are animals that live down there under atmospheric pressures that crush like reinforced steel and stuff. It's very impressive. I heard this story in this Welsh History Channel today about watch his typing pop read his comments. Watch who's typing. Who's Pop? Oh, Bugs Bunny. Is he an ENTP? Maybe, maybe. I'm not sure. He might be. He's rather a wascally ENTP if he is. He might be ESTP. I'm in favor of building an Alamo in every state. Why are we all supposed to remember something that's in Texas? If I want to remember an Alamo, I want to remember an Alamo close to me. Satan arrives to welcome a new soul to hell. Congratulations, he says, you wasted your entire pitiful life. Well, the man replies, at least I'm not an adult living in my father's basement. I don't get that. I don't get that at all. Oh, I see. Satan is an adult living in his father's basement. I do get it now. I understand. It took me a second to process that. Was my dad talkative? Yeah. But yeah, he was talkative in any third way. He wasn't a great conversationalist. He liked to tell things and not not really get interrupted at all, you know. He'd carry on sometimes about like something like well I've learned about some Welsh things. I might relate this story in a second about this guy, but my dad would do that at much greater detail and often my mom would say, you're telling us more about penguins than we want to know.
Are you hungry?
I'm not at the moment. I had a meatloaf earlier.
Okay.
Or maybe I'll make another thing in a little bit. So I will tell you guys the story of this Welsh guy. So this is a story that is related in some Welsh publication in like the 1700s or something like that. And apparently these three Welsh people were on a boat, and one of them was a boy, and he was thrown overboard into the ocean, and there was a shark in the area, and it's likely the sharks were following the boat um, because people were dying on the boat and they tossed them overboard, because like a couple people died of smallpox or something. But anyway, this boat fell overboard. This boy fell overboard, and there was a shark in the water. And it was coming to get him, and this guy jumped in the water with a sword and swam underneath the shark and stabbed it with a sword. And the boy got successfully pulled back on board. And as we were pulling the guy up, the shark, who had been stabbed, still wasn't done. He came and bit the guy in half.
Oh my god.
That's
an act of bravery.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're ill-advised to go to war with a shark in the ocean with a sword.
That's some guts, though. He saved the child.
He did. He saved the child, but he got bitten in half.
Oh, that's just their crazy instincts.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been a happier ending if he had gotten pulled safely too.
Yeah, I know. That's why, like, when people who do like deep sea diving and like stuff in the ocean, say when you come across a shark, if you do, be still and like then punch the
nose of the shark.
Yeah, I'm always like that sounds. It sounds like it makes sense, but in that moment, you might not be that way.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I just try to talk to the shark. Hey, are you sure you want to do this? Think about how you're going to feel later.
Yeah.
My fantasy teams are doing pretty well. Two of my fantasy teams are winning today. One of them is losing, but one of the ones that's winning has I have an 8-3 record this year, which is pretty darn good. Tell Shark, hey, I'm standing on business. Cash me outside.
I'm standing on business. Cash me outside.
Are you clocking? So anyway, the Welsh apparently called sharks sea dogs. A Welsh word meaning sea dogs. And they've not encountered a shark as dangerous as the shark that this guy encountered, because off of Wales there are some sharks, but they're not the kind that can eat people. After this event, the Welsh included a new word, sea wolves, to refer to the kind of sharks that, like great white sharks and stuff. Because it bit him in half, yeah. So, it got elevated from sea dog to sea wolf. So I guess I didn't really quite understand that the UK is actually 4 different countries: England, Wales, Ireland, and Scotland. I mean, I knew that they had different teams, like they each have their own soccer team. But I always thought of it being basically England and Ireland. And I didn't is Ireland a separate island?
From where?
From England.
Yes.
See, I always thought it was just the north part of the same island. I don't know how I thought that was the case. I knew the Isle of Man is a separate place. But apparently, a long time ago, the ocean, the Irish Sea or whatever, they yeah,
It really
I
is.
don't know the configuration of the UK. Um, anyway, like the Welsh, they think of themselves as a completely different country than
Mhm.
England and Scotland. In fact, it seems like the Welsh kind of don't like the English a little bit.
Wow. Well, Scotland feels the same way. Scotland doesn't want to be part of Great Britain. Scotland just wants to be Scotland, but
But at least Welsh actually has its own language, whereas I mean Wales does. Whereas Scotland, it has just English with a funny accent.
oh,
What is your opinion on electronic music? I think if it's good, it's good. If it's not, it's not. You know. Would you call LCD sound system electronic music?
me?
Yeah. What do you think?
They have elements, but they're not straight up DJ
Hmm.
on the deck. But they, yeah, it's electronic pop, sure. Yeah, dance a lot. Electronic pop, sure.
Yeah. I woke up this morning singing. Luck is always better than skill at things.
That's a good line.
Yeah. Let's see here. I think our ears are connected to our nose. In some cases, you can smell your own ears by just breathing in your nose. I my ears smell the same as regular air. Um, Scotland Yard. That might be preferable to death by otter. You mean being eaten by a shark is better than being eaten by an otter? You'd have to really not be fighting back very hard to be eaten by an otter. You know, I guess if you just lay still long enough and you found a carnivorous otter, then raped by an otter as opposed to by a shark? Well, I guess an otter would be less bad because you're both mammals. Everybody loves mammals. That's not speciest. That's like what, kingdomist or phylumist? It's one of those levels. Well, in general, just stay out of the water. You can get wet in the shower. You don't need to go into the
That's a
ocean
good point.
or rivers or anything. I I also watched. I've been watching The Missing Enigma, and I watched kind of a depressing one a little bit about the people who died right over here on Savage Lundy Trail. And having watched his analysis of it, I am convinced it was just uh, overheating, heat stroke, and stuff. But like that's a huge trail they tried to do. They tried to walk down the road that Cameron and I drove down and walk back up the Savage Lundy Trail. in the summer. Foolish indeed.
You know better though.
Yeah, well, I'm not interested that much in undertaking physical challenges anyway. Like, I think it is a good idea for me to get a little bit more exercise, but I have limited patience for long excursions. Even excursions into town, I get pretty ready to come back home
Yeah,
pretty quick.
yeah. I wanted to talk to you about this video that suggested to me,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like 8 signs that your partner hates you.
Uh-huh.
Some of the stuff I was just like she was basically like saying that any joke at your expense is, uh, that a partner showing that they hate you, and I'm like, well, like Eric makes jokes about like how many lipsticks I have, but
Hopefully it's not at your expense. Anytime if I ever make a joke that makes you feel bad, I feel terrible about it and regret it immediately. I think it's fair to say that if your partner is taking pleasure in your discomfort, then
yeah,
that's a bad sign.
yeah, that's. I think that's what she meant more of, but it made me. I'm like, wait, that doesn't add up. Like,
People aren't careful enough with their words. But there is the case that personally, I'm not a fan of like teasing in a
no, I
relationship
don't like that either.
or at all, really.
I even try not to be sarcastic because sometimes sarcasm can be a little biting.
Yeah. Well, we're both pretty sensitive, and we're also both very careful with each other.
Mm.
So,
She said like another thing was like if you're trying to take a picture and like say you're trying to take a picture of your food and your partner puts their hands in front of the picture that you're trying to do, like that's like a sign that they hate you.
why would somebody do that?
She said to like ruin your joy, basically.
Yeah, well, that's the same thing as the other one. If they're taking pleasure in your discomfort,
Yeah.
that's not good. It's called tit for tat relationships. Hmm. Yeah, if you're keeping score and playing tit for tat, that's not good.
Yeah, yeah. Like I asked myself who does that too. Like I can see it in my head play out, but I don't know. I can't recall of anyone I know ever doing something like that. Um, I'm not sure how I would react. Like, would I just be like, "Oh, haha, like get out," or would I?
I mean, I think you'd be annoyed. Like, whether regardless of how you reacted, you'd be annoyed.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Why are you thwarting me and doing my thing?
Yeah, yeah. It sounds. It's yeah, yeah. Well, if it's your food,
I mean, even then, it's like, why would I stop you from taking a picture of my food?
that's true.
If that's what you feel like doing. I don't think matching tattoos is a good indication of anything.
No. Sharks and otters do have a tit for tat relationship.
Why do insane clown posse people show each other their buttholes?
I never knew that.
I did not know that was the case, and if that is the
Is
case,
it?
I do not know why.
Good point, Fly Guy. Maybe they're in love.
Maybe it's like their secret handshake.
I don't think we are, G. I don't think we are one of those couples. And it was just, some of the stuff that she's saying was like borderline not. Like, like it's just like all around disrespectful. I got what she was saying, but I like wanted to talk to you about it because I'm like how serious is what she's talking about?
Well, I mean, she's probably being too specific, right? Like, you could interpret, you know, she should say something like, instead of they do this specific thing, she just say like, well, they take pleasure out of your discomfort.
I think she does. I'm just remembering the examples.
Okay.
Um,
Are Muriel and Hazel dead now? You mean my relatives, Muriel and Hazel? Yeah, they're long dead. Yeah, that's my grandma's generation, you know. They were sisters of my grandmother. The last of that generation died with my Aunt Ellie. And that was still quite a while ago.
how old were you?
Maybe 30 or something.
Mm.
My grandma died when I was 18, in her early 80s, I think. And some of her brothers and sisters were already dead at that point, and the rest of them died within 10 or 15 years.
Wow.
It's weird to think of, you know, you have whole generations of people, they all have lived their full lives and everything, and then they died.
Yeah. It when we were watching Big Brothers and like a lot of those like World War II videos, I'm like, oh my god, these people, this generation, that generation is like on its last people.
Yeah.
Which like
It's surprising there aren't any left at all, but there are
no, yeah,
a few.
right.
Yeah, there's some.
They'd be like 100.
There are 100 now,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they were such a big part of my like hearing about World War II and that like life during that time. It was such a big part of my childhood.
Yeah, well, you know, World War II kind of predominated historical narratives for quite a while after it.
Yeah.
In some sense, we're still wrestling with the aftermath of it, because unfortunately we didn't generally seem to have learned all the right lessons from it, and we often learned the wrong lessons from it. Like, you know, I think there was a tendency to persist in ends justify the means kind of framework that predominated at the end of World War II when the U.S. was like firebombing Japan and stuff.
It's true.
I think Horizon would be a beautiful name for a woman, but then I thought how it wouldn't work because her nickname would be Whore.
Hmm.
You make a good point.
That is a good point.
That's a good point, Casey Jones. But I think we can all agree that the most beautiful name for a woman ever is Beige Dawn. How is it out there this morning, honey? Oh, that's a pretty beige dawn. Not really worth looking at. Oh. Hands down, best name for a cat. I think we discussed this last night, Jason.
Jason?
Yeah. It's Jason.
How did I miss this?
I think you were on the phone or something.
Oh.
I was asking Phil, has anybody ever met a cat named Jason?
No, I haven't.
Me neither. Captain Whiskers is a more normal cat name than Jason. This is just instant clog. It's so ridiculous. I unclog it, I hit it, instantly clogs again. You'd name mice living in your walls, Muriel and Hazel. Those are good names for mice in your walls. I think you need a third one to fulfill the triad of mice trope.
Mm-hmm.
Kimbo would be a good name for a dog. Not a terrible name for a dog. Armin's akimbo. Muriel, Hazel, and Isis. Isis is the Muslim mouse. Six and seven.
Oh no. Are you talking about that like trend that's going around of kids going 6'7", 6'7"?
No, I've never heard of that before. I think that might be what Winston Baum's referencing.
Yeah.
Why do they do that?
I don't know. I don't fully understand it.
Well,
They just go in class and they'll be, or in public and they'll be like 6'7".
young kids, I guess, think it has to do with some sports dude. Have you heard about the Dr. Yakub that invented white people 6,000 years ago? No, I haven't heard of Dr. Yakub. How did he invent white people? That's a plot line in One Piece. Is that Dr. Yakub invented white people 6,000 years ago? Well, that's an interesting plot line. Is One Piece about fashion design? No, it's not. It's about pirates. It's not a very good show.
It's about pirates?
Yeah,
I would have thought it was about guns.
no, it's about pirates.
Oh.
It's not a very good show though. Everybody seems to like it, but people like bad things sometimes. This is the Welsh channel I've been watching.
If we assume that these two bays are the same, then Ptolemy tells us that the Satantes harbour is right below it, followed by another presumably notable estuary, and finally the river Satea.
Isn't that pleasant?
If we look on a map, we can see two pretty sizable estuaries below Morecambe Bay, the Ribble and the Mersey, and historians today generally agree that the Satea was very likely the Mersey River. This then also played the Satanteorum harbour somewhere above the Ribble, and the historian Andrew Greaves suggests that it was on the River Wye, near Blackpool today, although the loom near Lancaster could also be a candidate. This places the Satantee right here, to the west of the Pennines, roughly between the Wye and the Mersey. Unfortunately, we don't really know anything else about them, but their name might give us one final clue, because it's very weird, and it doesn't seem to be Celtic. The historian Dr. Parson suggests that this name might be pre-Indo-European.
Pre-Indo-European, and the name is Satante.
Or the Metante. Ptolemy spelled words wrong all the time, even of very famous people and locations. And Met is a Celtic word, meaning to cut or harvest. It survives in blogs today as Medel, Reaper, and Medi, the month of harvest, making them.
Isn't that interesting? Yes, it is. It's very pleasant, is what it is, most of all. It's about a world where pirates are all trying to find the mega treasure called One Piece. Yeah. And you could also say that the main character is trying to become the king of the pirates. Let's see what this link is all about. World Worm Charming Championships. How do you charm worms?
We had some little bit of rain yesterday. The going is really, soft to good to firm to wonderful. And the worms, as we speak, are just underneath the surface waiting to come. This is a fun day out for worms, don't forget. This is friends and relations, actually for a whole year. The way I actually charm the worms, I've been practicing it every day. I actually say really nice things to them, like, oh, Tom, like, boy, you're a sexy worm. They pop their head up.
Is this a joke?
I pop them in my mouth and
What? Like what? What are they supposed to be? They're supposed to get the worms to come out of the ground. Oh, you have to coax as many worms as possible to the surface of a 3 by 3 meter plot of land. That is really strange. You can't just dig it up. You have to. You have to make it come back up to the top on its own. Charming, grunting, and fiddling are the most popular methods to attract worms from the ground. Why would those noises make the worms come out? This guy right here. Where is he again? This guy is the most British person ever. Where is he? Where is he? This guy. This guy is the most British person ever. The guy in the brown shirt who's like, I'm gonna charm them by saying how wonderful they are, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
They think it's an earthquake or a storm, so they're trying not to drown. Well, that's understandable. I wouldn't want to drown either. Those teeth that he's wearing make the worm calling look like a Monty Python skit. I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. He's so just stereotypically British. Like, what made them decide to make this into a contest?
I don't know.
What do they use the worms for? Do they fish with them, or are they putting them in their garden, or what? Henry Blofield? I don't know who's Henry Blofield. They put him back? I see. Well, it seems like a festive occasion.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd want to compete in it.
It makes some good shorts though.
Yeah, I would. Henry Blofeld. Yeah, he seems pretty British. Yeah, it seems like something Tiffany might want to do is do a little worm charming. Henry Calthorpe Blofield, nicknamed Blowers by Brian Johnson, is an English retired sports journalist and broadcaster. Calypso Collapso, Henry Blofield's Day 2 Ashes Events. Alright, let me check it out.
Hello, I'm Blowers. Now first, we all need a little bit of good news this morning. Actually, my goodness, we do. Well, the good news is that I'm wearing my splendidly colourful pair of cords from Peter Christian, and they are wonderful men's outfitters. And the good news is that you get a free delivery if you get...
Okay. He only has 2,000 subs. For being a retired sportscaster, I'm surprised he doesn't have more.
Me too.
So what are you thinking about in terms of like I could imagine myself trying to go back to bed relatively soon. You think you got more sleep in you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, I think I'm going to wrap this stream up. Thank you all for being here. You helped me have a very pleasant last couple of hours, and I feel like I'm in a pretty good mental place considering, post Adderall stuff. So thanks for being here to help with that, and hope you have a wonderful day.